The next topic is energy spectral density, right? Energy spectral density. So let us consider a signal that is applied to a ideal low pass filter. My system is an ideal low pass filter and this signal is f of t. I am applying f of t to a ideal low pass filter. So what is the transfer function of my ideal low pass filter? How is my ideal low pass filter defined? Ideal low pass filter, it is something like this, right? This is mod h of omega. This is mod h of omega, and my theta of omega is equals to minus omega d, right? That is how my ideal low pass filter is defined. Now, the response of the system is what? What is the response of the system in frequency domain? Okay, in time domain, what is the response of the system? Y of t equals to convolution of input, convolution of input and impulse response. Now, when I apply Fourier transform on both sides, I'll get y of omega equals to multiplication of f of omega and h of omega. So that is how I'll get the response of the system. Now, using Parseval's theorem, if you remember the Parseval's theorem, what is it? It is nothing but energy is equals to 1 by 2 pi minus infinite to infinite. What does the Parseval theorem state? Parseval theorem states that minus infinite to infinite, my signal f of t square dt, this is the energy of a signal in time domain. It is equals to energy in the frequency domain, right? Energy in the frequency domain. So on the right hand side I'll have 1 by 2 pi integral 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinite to infinite f of omega whole square d omega, right? This is the Parseval's theorem. Energy in the time domain is equals to energy in the frequency domain, right? Now here I am calculating the energy of the output signal. I am denoting it with E naught. So E naught equals to energy of the output signal in frequency domain I am calculating. So 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinite to infinite mod of the output spectrum whole square, since my output signal is y of t, its corresponding Fourier transform is y of omega, right? Mod of y of omega whole square d omega. So what is y of omega? It is equal to f of omega into h of omega, that I am substituting here. Okay, now this is the ideal low pass filter function. What is it? It is 1 for omega values between omega c and minus omega c, and 0 for all other values. So what I am doing here, I am taking the limits from minus omega c to plus omega c, right? Outside these limits, my h of omega is 0. So my limits will become minus omega c to plus omega c, and in that limit h of omega is equals to 1. So h of omega is replaced by 1. So what do I have here? 1 by 2 pi integral minus omega c to plus omega c mod f of omega whole square into d omega. Now the Fourier transform f of omega is assumed to be a constant with frequency for a narrow band of omega, negative omega c to plus omega c. Now what I am assuming is, I am assuming this omega c, negative omega c and omega c is very narrow, right? It's very narrow, something like, okay, something like this. very narrow. So since I'm assuming a very narrow band, within a very narrow band, I can consider my Fourier transform f of omega to be a constant value. There's not much variation in time for the signal to, or much variation in the frequency for the signal to change. That is what I am assuming. So when I assume a narrow band, I can assume f of omega to be a constant. So what can I conclude from this? The energy of the signal over this narrow band. So my narrow band, the band here is omega c and negative omega c, that is 2 omega c. This narrow band, I'm assuming it to be delta of omega or delta omega. In place of 2 omega c, I'm considering delta omega. And the energy of the signal over this narrow band will be, what will happen? E naught equals to 1 by 2 pi. Now since f of omega is constant, I'll get it outside. Okay, I am getting it outside. And I have minus omega c to omega c d omega. So this integral will become, it will become 2 omega c. So what is 2 omega c? As I assumed, it's a narrow band and it can be replaced by delta of omega. It's a narrow band and it can be replaced by delta of omega, right? Delta of omega. Now delta omega, what is omega? Omega is equal to 2 pi f. So I can write it as 2 pi into delta f, right? 1 by 2 pi mod f of omega whole square into 2 pi into delta f. 2 pi gets cancelled and I have f of omega whole square into delta f, right? So my energy of the signal is going to be, E naught, that's equal to mod f of omega whole square into delta f. Now this E naught, what does it represent? It represents the energy, it represents energy due to bandwidth delta omega, right? It represents the energy contribution due to bandwidth delta omega. And this delta omega, it includes positive frequencies as well as negative frequencies, right? It includes both positive as well as negative frequencies. Now we had E naught equals to mod of f of omega whole square into delta f. Now if I get this delta f to the other side, E naught divided by delta f is equals to mod f of omega whole square. This is nothing but my energy spectral density. Energy spectral density. The energy per unit bandwidth, right? Energy per unit bandwidth. My bandwidth is delta f and my total energy is E naught. So the total energy divided by bandwidth is nothing but energy per bandwidth, energy per unit bandwidth. So energy per unit bandwidth is mod of f of omega whole square. This is nothing but my energy density spectrum or energy spectral density, right? Energy density spectrum or energy spectral density, and the units considered are joules per hertz. Energy is in joules and bandwidth is in hertz. So that is energy spectral density. So energy spectral density, it is denoted by psi of omega. Psi of omega, right? Psi of omega. So that is equals to mod of f of omega whole square. So how will I get the total energy of the signal? The total energy of the signal is obtained by integrating my energy spectral density over the entire bandwidth of the signal, right? So if I integrate my energy spectral density over the entire bandwidth of the signal, I'll get my total energy of the signal. For real signals, f of omega will be equals to f of minus omega square, square. That is, the spectrum will be symmetrical and the contribution of negative and positive frequencies will be same. So the contribution of negative and positive frequencies will be same. So instead of, since it is real and the contribution will be same, so what I can do, it will be an even signal. It's going to be an even signal. So integral of minus infinite to infinite will become twice integral of 0 to infinity. That is 1 by pi into 0 to infinity integral psi of omega d omega. So that is the energy spectral density. That is how we derive the energy spectral density. Now we'll look at the relationship between energy spectral density of the input signal and the output signal. So for the input signal, I'll call it psi I of omega, and for the output signal, I'll call it psi O of omega. So this is the relationship between input and output in Fourier domain. In Fourier domain, y of omega equals to f into h. So if I take the magnitude of y of omega, what is it going to be? Mod of f of omega into h of omega whole square. Then that is equals to mod of f of omega whole square into mod of h of omega whole square. Now, okay, forget this notation for now. Okay, now my output is going to be y of t, and its energy spectral density is given by psi y of omega. Similarly, for input f of t, my ESD or the energy spectral density is psi f of omega, right? So y of omega whole square is nothing but psi y of omega, that is equal to mod h of omega whole square into, this is nothing but the input, this is nothing but the input uh, energy spectral density psi f of omega. So this is the relation between output and input spectral densities, energy spectral densities, where y is my output and f is my input, right? So if I consider this as my output signal and this as my input, sorry, this as my output ESD and this as my input ESD, this is how the relation is going to look like. The output spectral density is equals to input spectral density into mod of h of omega whole square, right? The same equation is shown here in a different form, and the total area under the energy spectral density function is equal to the total energy of that signal, right? The total area under the ESD curve is same as energy of the signal. Energy of the signal is the same as the energy of the signal. The autocorrelation function, we have seen what is autocorrelation in unit 1. The autocorrelation function and the energy spectral density form a Fourier transform pair. The autocorrelation function we have seen in unit 1. The Fourier transform of that autocorrelation function is nothing but my energy spectral density, ESD, right? This is the Fourier transform pair. That is the Fourier transform pair. So these are the three properties of energy spectral density. The first property is the total area under the energy spectral density curve is equal to the total energy of the signal. Then the input and the output ESDs are related by psi naught of omega equals to mod h of omega whole square into psi I of omega, and the output correlation function R of t, it has a Fourier transform of energy spectral density. R of tau has a Fourier transform of psi of omega. So these are three properties of energy spectral density. Now we will look at power spectral density. Power spectral density. If you remember, we were talking about power signals as non-periodic signals, right? Power signals were considered to be a non-periodic signal. Now, if you look at this diagram here, right? If I continue drawing this, if I continue drawing this from minus infinite to infinite, right? From minus infinite to infinite. It is a signal that is extending from minus infinite to infinite. That is a power signal. Now if I terminate it from this point to this point, what happens? If I terminate the signal such that it is 0 outside this interval, it is 0. What happens? That signal, it has a finite duration. That signal becomes of finite duration, right? If I terminate the original signal such that it is 0 outside these limits of minus t by 2 to plus t by 2, then what happens? I can consider that signal as a signal of finite duration, right? Finite duration signal. So since the signal is of finite duration, we can tell it is an energy signal. It is going to be a energy signal, right? Energy signal. If I make this capital T as infinity, if I make this capital T as infinity, what will I get? I'll get a signal of infinite duration. That is my original f of t, right? Original f of t. So if it is a signal of infinite duration, then we call it a power signal. So power signal is assumed as a limiting case of an energy signal. How? By making t as infinity. Limit t tends to infinity. If I have the energy signal, then I'll get a power signal, right? Now, since the signal I'm considering here is of finite duration, it is an energy signal. So let me try and find out what the energy of the signal is. I'm denoting the energy of the signal as E tau. So E tau is equals to minus infinite to infinite f tau of t mod square dt, right? F tau of t mod square dt. That is equals to 1 by 2 pi minus infinite to infinite f tau of omega whole square d omega, right? That is in terms of omega. This is by Parseval's theorem. Now if I want in terms of f, what will happen? This is going to become f, and df is nothing but omega is equals to 2 pi f, d omega is equals to 2 pi df, right? 2 pi df. So instead of this, if I write 2 pi df, 2 pi and 2 pi gets cancelled and I have df. So that is how I'll get this relation. This relation is by Parseval's theorem. Then f of t over the interval minus, okay, I'm calling this tau, not t, okay? So minus tau by 2 to plus tau by 2, minus tau by 2 to plus tau by 2. F of t over the interval minus tau by 2 to plus tau by 2 is same as f t of tau over the interval minus infinite to infinite. Now, since it is same, so what I can write? The energy of this signal from minus infinite to infinite, energy of the signal from minus infinite to infinite is going to be, so this is my f tau of t, right? That from minus infinite to infinite, the energy is equals to f of t from minus tau by 2 to plus tau by 2. So let me draw a pictorial representation. You will understand it clearly. So this is my f of t. Let me assume this is my f of t. F of t from, and this is going to be my tau by 2. This is going to be my tau by 2 and tau by 2, right? So this is my original f of t. I am terminating it after tau by 2 to get my f tau of t, right? So f of t, if I consider f of t only in this interval, it is same as this function f tau of t from interval minus infinity to plus infinity, right? If I extend this minus infinity to plus infinity, I'll have like this. And if I consider only the signal inside, what is the signal inside? This one, right? This is the signal inside. And after this, I am not considering any signal, so it is 0. So the blue signal here is f of t over the interval minus tau by 2 and tau by 2. And this signal here is f tau of t from minus infinite to infinite. Both are same. That is what we are telling here. Both are same. Since both are same, the energy of both the signals must be same, right? Now, f tau of t from minus infinite to infinite, the energy is minus infinite to infinite f tau of t whole square dt. And for this signal, what is the energy? Minus tau by 2 to plus tau by 2, right? Only till this point I am considering, right? Only till this point I am considering. So minus tau by 2 to plus tau by 2 mod of f of t whole square dt, mod of f of t whole square dt. Now I'm multiplying I'm multiplying by 1 by tau on both sides, right? I'm multiplying with 1 by tau on both sides, and this signal here I am using the Parseval's relation, right? What is the Parseval's relation? Parseval's relation, this is equals to this, right? So instead of the time domain representation, I'm using the frequency domain representation. Minus infinite to infinite, f tau of omega, or f, it can be omega or f whole square into df. Now if I take the limit tau tends to infinity on both sides. Now let me take tau tends to infinity on both sides. What happens? What is this here? This here is nothing but limit tau tends to infinity 1 by tau integral minus tau to plus tau by 2 minus tau by 2 to plus tau by 2 mod f of t whole square dt. That is nothing but my power. Average power, that we call it as average power. And on the right hand side I have integral minus infinite to infinite limit tau tends to infinity mod f tau of omega whole square by tau df. Now, as tau increases, what happens? The energy of f tau of t also increases. Hence, f tau of omega whole square increases with tau. Right? As tau increases, the energy also increases. Right? If my duration increases, if my duration of the signal increases, the energy increases. If energy increases, its corresponding Fourier transform also increases. Then as tau tends to infinity, what happens to this? What happens to this? This becomes a finite value. It's going to become a finite value. That we call that finite value as S of omega. We are going to represent that finite value with S of omega. That is S of omega. This is nothing but my power spectral density. This S of omega is nothing but my power spectral density. Now power is equals to minus infinite to infinite. This entire term here I am going to represent it with S of omega df or S of omega df, and in terms of omega I am going to write 1 by 2 pi integral minus infinite to infinite S of omega d omega. Right, this S of omega is nothing but the average power per unit bandwidth or the power spectral density. Now total power of the signal is obtained by integrating the PSD and bandwidth. Right, this is the PSD and this is the bandwidth of the signal. Right, how am I integrating? I am integrating over the entire bandwidth. That is how the total power of the signal is obtained. So this part is same as that of energy spectral density. What I'm doing, I'm considering a real signal. Since it's real signal, the contribution of positive and negative frequencies is identical, and the average power is expressed as minus infinite to infinite is now going to be twice 0 to infinite, and here if I multiply with 2, I have 1 by pi 0 to infinity s of omega d omega. And similar to the energy spectral density relations of input and output, I have my power spectral density relation between input and output. Output PSD is equals to input PSD multiplied by h of omega mod h of omega square. And then finally we look at properties of power spectral density. The total area under the PSD function or the PSD curve is equal to average power of that signal, right? It's equal to the average power of the signal. What did we have? The corresponding property of energy spectral density. The total area under the energy spectral density is equal to the energy of the signal, total energy of the signal. In that case, it was total energy of the signal. Here it is average power of the signal. And if f of t is the input, and with the transfer function of the system h of omega, then the relation between the input and output spectral densities is this. Then the autocorrelation function. The autocorrelation function will have a Fourier transform of s of omega, right? Autocorrelation function r of tau has a Fourier transform s of omega. That means the power spectral density is the Fourier transform of autocorrelation function when the signal is a power signal. This is only when the signal is a power signal. When the signal is a power signal. When the signal is an energy signal, what did we see? The autocorrelation function will have a Fourier transform of energy spectral density psi of omega. That was only for energy signals, and this is only for power signals. When the signal is an energy signal, the Fourier transform of your autocorrelation function is energy spectral density. For the power signal, the Fourier transform of autocorrelation function is power spectral density, right? So these are the properties of power spectral density. Now let us see a comparison between energy spectral density and power spectral density. What does energy spectral density denote? It denotes distribution of energy of the signal in frequency domain. Similarly, power spectral density denotes the distribution of power in the frequency domain. At which frequency, what is the energy of the signal, or how much energy of the signal is present at which frequency. Similarly here, how much energy is present at, how much power is present at what frequency. That is the essence of energy spectral density and power spectral density. And this here is the formula for energy spectral density, and this is the formula we have derived for power spectral density. So to obtain the total energy from the energy spectral density, this is the formula, and to obtain the average power from the power spectral density, we have the formula. And this is the Fourier transform pair for energy signals, and this is the Fourier transform pair for power signals. Units for energy spectral density is joules per hertz, and units for power spectral density is watts per hertz.